We're back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Kendall Poole's with us, Director of the Tennessee Governor's Highway Safety Office, and we were talking about the seatbelt laws and how they come about. And I was telling him I'm still not perfect on that. You know I should wear seatbelts. It's not that I'm against it, but sometimes I'm just the absent-minded professor, and I got nailed for it. Last year, I was on an underpass and stuck in traffic there, and the officer was there doing a speed gun and just happened to look and see that my belt wasn't on. Nailed me, man, and I was dead to rights, so I paid a $50 fine for it, and it was a good reminder to me. And I do mean well to buckle up, but every once in a while I'll just drive out and my mind will be on something and it won't catch me till I'm at a stoplight, and then I buckle it up. And I'd say the vast majority of the time I'm buckled. I'll tell you, sometimes it slips my mind, it just does.
Well, let's talk about, that's a great way to talk about belt usage.
Yeah.
In 2003, there was a law passed by the General Assembly that made seat belts a primary offense, so we became a primary state.
Meaning you can nail someone for, like I was, exclusively seatbelt. Not, we stopped you for speeding, and by the way, I noticed you're not wearing your seatbelt.
That would be a secondary violation.
Gotcha.
So this made it a primary violation.
Okay.
That's when Click It or Ticket really kicked off and started.
Yeah, it was good.
Right around that time. And we know now, as a result of passing primary, that our seatbelt usage has increased every year exponentially. Now we've kind of capped out, and we dropped from 87% to 86% this year. So we know that 86.2% of Tennesseans are now wearing their seatbelts.
And how much does that improve your chances of surviving a wreck?
Oh, exponentially. Exponentially, it's 4 or 5 times.
4 or 5,
depending
okay,
on what
least,
study.
yeah,
depending on what study that you look to,
okay.
To get that. But so that means that we know that 86.2% of Tennesseans are now wearing their seatbelt. 87 has been the high. Well, think about this. Of half the fatalities, and we're sitting at 840 fatalities as of this morning, this calendar year in the state of Tennessee. Half of those have been unbelted.
Okay.
Okay. So think about half of our fatalities are coming from 14% of our population.
And you would say too, I want to throw this out there, that the ones who were not, the ones who were belted that did die, it wasn't because they were stuck in the, because you always hear sometimes,
right.
Well, if I'm buckled in and the car catches fire and I can't get the buckle off, then I burned it out. I mean, most of those other wrecks are wrecks where whether you're buckled or not, you're dead. You probably just got crushed by a truck or something, right?
Yeah, and we've seen studies on that, and those have been done for years and years and years. Believe me, you're vastly
very rare
safer
when it's a case of someone, expiring because the seatbelt locked him in the car. In fact, I almost wonder if that's an urban legend. I suppose it could happen, but it's got to be very rare.
Well, it's about ejection,
yeah,
and it's about somebody not going through the windshield or your car rolls over.
Yeah, when you get thrown out, you're just completely a rag doll.
Right, because if you stay in the car, then you've got a much better chance of survival. You've got a shot. But, it's not just the fact that 14% accounts for half of our fatalities. It might be that they're impaired. It might be that they're not wearing a seatbelt. It might be that they're speeding. It might be that they're a 3 or 4 time offender. Maybe they were distracted as well. So, we just want to make sure that we target those high-risk drivers. So we've got when the seatbelt law, the primary seatbelt law, was passed in 2003, they passed it with a $10 fine. Okay, we would like for it to be higher. If you look at other states around the country and their primary fine, I mean, for instance, State, which has virtually the same population that we do, their fine's $125 for a seatbelt. Many states across the nation are $100, $50, $75. We're still way on the low end at $10. So the legislature this year, the Highway Patrol worked with us and the Governor's Highway Safety Office to educate the legislature, and they decided we're going to raise it to $25.
So the baseline now will be $25, and of course, like I said, mine I think was $50 in Metro, and so I'm guessing that's your base, and then depending on the municipality, there's court costs, and
that's exactly
it's
right.
more expensive here, so I had to pay certain fees with it. It got my attention, I mean, like I said, and I meant well, and they nailed me. There's no disputing it. I was kicking myself. I know Click It or Ticket, and I know, if I want to be safe, I need to wear wear a seatbelt. So got my attention. Let's go to Jimmy. Hi, Jimmy.
Hello, how are you doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
This thing you're just talking about,
Sure.
the urban legend as you've called it,
Yeah.
I seen somebody get burnt to death because they couldn't get out of the car because of a seatbelt.
Yeah, like I said, I would imagine it's happened.
When I was about 14, and I know a girl that's alive today just because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt when she was hitting the rear and her car caught on fire. So that's two examples, but what I want to say is when the law was actually passed, they specifically said when they were passing the law, we will not pull you over just for a seatbelt. We will have to have another charge to pull you over. Look in your archives and you'll see I am correct.
Man, that may have been how they initially passed it, but didn't you say...
The only reason why they passed it was to keep down the dang whiplash things. The insurance companies passed it because they got tired of paying whiplash.
That's funny.
charges.
Hey, listen, I don't doubt that there's a money component attached to anything like this, and I know you mean well, it saves lives, but
Right.
There's money involved. But the legislature went back and changed it, though, right, in 2003 to making it a primary offense?
That's correct. A primary offense means you can be pulled over for simply not
So
wearing your
your
seatbelt.
lawmakers, Jimmy, made that change. I don't know if back in '86 when they passed the seatbelt law, that was one of the provisions that
That would be a secondary.
It would have been. Yeah, you're right. When they passed it, it's a secondary one. The state lawmakers, people that the constituents elected, changed it. That's the law now. So yeah, you're probably right, Jimmy. But that was the change. And again, I don't doubt. There's no doubt people have probably died because of the seatbelt. But there's just no debating whatsoever, Jimmy. And you know this. That there are far more people,
Right.
far, far, far more, and there is no debate, Jim, so don't even bring it up, that people that die because they weren't wearing their seatbelts. So it's not, so that's not an urban legend, that's the truth. But I suppose if you're someone who actually, like him, maybe witnessed someone burned to death because they didn't get out because of the seatbelt, maybe that's enough for him to say, I'm not wearing a belt. But the truth is, you're at far greater risk not wearing the belt than wearing one.
And Nick, you and I
And
talked.
the stats bear that out.
Yeah, you and I talked off air. We both have young men who are driving now, and they're helping set good examples for us as well. You said your son gets in the car.
First thing now, he knows
he
to
does is buckle up.
Yep.
And I've got a 16-year-old who's driving now, and you want them to be safe.
Yeah.
And they're going to go through those, as you put it, the testosterone-fueled years. Where they might be more of a high-risk driver. So educating them on the front end, we've done a lot with teenagers over the course of the last few years. If you look at our teen fatalities over the course of the last 10 years, they've dropped exponentially.
Let me hit you with this real quick before we get back to the phone lines. The lines are open, 737-7587. We'll get to the other callers here in a sec. But there are some out there that will say, despite the fact that the law is on the books, and yeah, you want to obey the law, but if you choose not to, they'll say, well, listen, I don't want to wear the seatbelt. It rumples my tie, my suit, and I've got an airbag.
Right.
But you would say that the airbag doesn't keep you from being ejected.
That's exactly right.
And that's the bottom line. The airbag may indeed serve the purpose. Seatbelt keeps your head from hitting the windshield. Maybe if you're lucky, the airbag will keep your head from hitting the windshield. But if that car flips, that airbag's not grabbing you and holding you in the car.
That's
the big difference, right?
According to the studies that I've seen, that's true.
So you can't say, well, I've got an airbags, I don't need a seatbelt.
Right.
Both ideally are what you want.
Both ideally. And again, we talked about the car manufacturers themselves. Our cars get safer.
Yeah.
And that plays a huge role in it. And so we're excited about the new technology that comes out, the technology that helps make the car safer.
Well, yeah, but it's interesting on that. It's we talked about years ago, and you're right, the technology is better to make cars, but these days in general, cars are being built smaller and more fuel efficient. And you know as well as I do, some of those old Oldsmobiles from the 70s and 80s were like tanks. They were pretty dang safe back then. And I'll take one of those Oldsmobiles over some of these new compact cars that I know have technology to make them safe. But still, that little compact of today slamming into an Oldsmobile that's built like a Tonka truck, back in the 60s, you're going to lose.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the thing. But we're more fuel efficient, and all those things come into play.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's been interesting studies, and you can go to, for instance, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety.
Yeah.
In D.C., they're a huge lobby for safety up there, and they do all the tests on cars. And gosh, they've done, you can look on YouTube and look at a video of a car from 1970 crashing into a car of today, and it's amazing to watch.
The ones today, because
made
the technology, the crump. Oh, I don't doubt it. We should have advances that make it safer.
Right.
Let's go to Mike. Hi, Mike.
Hey, morning.
Morning. What's on your mind?
I want to say that I believe the seatbelt law should not be enforced. And the reason I say that is because I believe that it's just a reason for law enforcement to give you another ticket for them to fund off of you, really. I believe that, I'm not sure about this, but I think that maybe these states get federal funding for promoting seatbelts. And I think that's one of the main reasons why we have to wear a seatbelt.
No, I think, well, you're right that they want to promote it, but wouldn't you agree, or are you of the mind that seatbelts don't make it safer for you? Or would you want to wear a seatbelt, or you just want it to be your choice, or what do you think?
I think that it should be an individual's choice. I actually was in an accident a few years ago, and I do believe if I had my seatbelt on that I would have been injured a lot worse than I was in the accident.
And how do you feel about motorcycle helmet laws?
Well, I believe that the law for a helmet should be enforced because that actually is something that could save somebody. I mean, it's
okay. All right.
You know, you're on the road and you're going to hit the road with your head, you know, so that's something different than somebody that's in a seat, you know, in a seatbelt. Which I don't think that that's exactly proven that the seatbelt actually saves more lives than the other way.
I mean, okay. No, it is. It is. Listen, there's no debate. Is there any debate whatsoever here? That's kind of to me like saying, you know, cigarettes, is it actually been proven doesn't kill, you know, cause cancer? You know, cigarettes going to kill you. They're going to kill you. Not wearing a seatbelt, and you get in a wreck and flip and get thrown, you're going to die. Right? I mean, come on,
Correct.
Kendall, are there stats?
Yeah.
Don't sit here and say, okay, I want to know, are there stats? Is it definitive that seatbelts are going to save lives?
Absolutely.
There's no debate.
You can go.
I want there to be hard numbers from impartial organizations that say we just look at all the wrecks and it's pretty darn clear if you're wearing a belt, you got a better shot.
Well, for instance, Insurance Institute for Highway Safety is a good one to go to. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration is a good one to go to. You know, it's a personal choice that has public consequences.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we're talking about. So if you're in a crash, you're not wearing your belt, you hit. Maybe you don't die, but the brain injury from hitting the windshield or from hitting the dashboard or whatever, you know, those are public consequences.
Meaning that we have to pay for him to have his head taken care of the rest of his life.
Absolutely. And it's the same. It's the same way with
motorcycle helmets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That's my take on it. Look, you want to crack your coconut? I don't know you. I don't wish you any ill will, but fair enough. Go for it. But I don't want to have to pay for you being an invalid the rest of your life because you busted your head because you were too foolish to wear a helmet. Listen, we need to take a break. When we come back, more of your phone calls. The number is 737-7587. Faye, Wilma, and others, stay there. We'll get to you right after this.